Disguised as a woman, I got unexpected praise. A quiet sense of regret lingered in the room. The bathroom mirror was fogged with steam, blurring any clear reflection. Bare feet crossed the cold tiles and a towel slipped unnoticed onto the floor. Faint marks remained on pale skin, reminders of the day before. In the bedroom, drawers slid open and shut as part of a routine that rarely changed. Socks, boxers. Nothing unusual. Then a pause. Hands hovered over the lowest drawer, the one that was almost always locked. Just one more time, came a soft whisper. The key turned. Inside lay a different world. Colors too soft, too vibrant for the rest of the apartment. Fabrics that invited touch, that felt alive under trembling fingers. Resting on top was a navy blue dress, simple yet quietly beautiful. Unsteady hands lifted it, holding it close. The flatness of the chest beneath felt wrong somehow, like something missing. The name Louise weighed heavily in moments like this, too rigid, too distant from the softness being longed for. It was the name printed on official papers, on badges and forms. But behind locked doors with curtains drawn tight, another self sometimes emerged. The dress slipped on, settling over narrow shoulders. Reaching back to pull the zipper required effort, a small twist, a quiet determination. In the closet, more hidden pieces waited, collected carefully from distant thrift shops where no one asked questions. The shoes were modest, navy pumps, low and practical, matching the dress perfectly. Even in secrecy, details mattered. Makeup followed. Practiced hands moved with ease, foundation smoothing sharp edges, contouring shaping what nature had not. A wig of soft auburn waves waited nearby, falling just past the shoulders. The natural hair beneath was the same shade, but cut short, harsh, unmistakably masculine. The wig changed everything. Facing the mirror again, a quiet correction formed in the mind. Not Louise. Not today. A faint smile appeared. Lips tinted in soft rose, the dress fitting just right, a belt pulling in at the waist to suggest curves. Subtle enhancements beneath completed the illusion. Not exaggerated, just enough. Someone ordinary. Someone who could belong anywhere. The clock read 7:43 p.m. Late enough for anonymity, early enough for opportunity. The thought had been building for weeks, stepping outside, letting this hidden self exist beyond walls. Fear and excitement clashed within, equally strong. Keys jingled. The door opened. One step. Then another. The elevator descent felt endless, each passing floor tightening the chest. But the lobby was empty, offering silent relief. Outside, cool autumn air brushed against bare legs, making the dress sway gently. The walk to Fifth Street took 12 minutes, each step in heels sounding louder than it should, echoing in heightened awareness. People passed, a couple deep in conversation, a person walking their dog. No one stared. No one paused. Life carried on. The cafe lights glowed warmly through the windows, inviting and safe. Inside, the scent of coffee and fresh pastries wrapped around like a comfort. At the counter, a barista with streaks of purple in her hair smiled. "What can I get you?" The reply came softer, lighter than usual. "A medium latte, please." "For here." Coming right up. No hesitation. No suspicion. Just a normal exchange. Relief settled in, almost overwhelming. At a quiet corner table, partially hidden behind a leafy plant, the moment was allowed to breathe. The latte arrived, delicate foam art swirling on top. Hands wrapped around the warm cup, grounding the experience. This was real. This was happening. "Excuse me." The voice came gently from nearby. An elderly man sat at the next table, his kind eyes visible behind thin glasses. His worn cardigan hinted at years gone by, but his expression held nothing but warmth. "I hope you don't mind me saying," the old man began gently, "but that color really makes your eyes stand out." For a second, everything seemed to spin. Words tangled in the throat, thick and uncooperative. This had to be it, the moment everything fell apart. Exposure. Embarrassment. Judgment. But none of that came. His face held nothing but quiet admiration, the same softness someone might show toward a beautiful painting or a calm evening sky. "Thank you," came the reply, barely audible. He smiled faintly as if carried away by a memory. "My wife had a dress almost that exact shade. She always insisted navy deserved more appreciation." His gaze drifted somewhere far away. You wear it just as well, dear. Something shifted deep inside, like a barrier cracking after years of pressure. Emotion surged forward, sudden and overwhelming. Tears threatened, but instinct took over. Careful. Don't ruin the makeup. Don't draw attention. A slow, shaky breath. That's very kind of you. Kindness doesn't cost a thing, he said lightly, lifting his cup in a small, almost ceremonial gesture. Enjoy your evening. And just like that, he returned to his newspaper as if nothing extraordinary had happened. But everything had. The words lingered, echoing again and again. That color really makes your eyes stand out. Not suspicion. Not ridicule. No questioning looks. Just a simple, genuine compliment. One person seeing another as they wished to be seen. The coffee sat untouched, cooling with time. Inside, something much larger was shifting. He's just a name. Role. A layer built over years for safety, for survival. But here in that quiet corner, wrapped in navy blue and quiet acceptance, something else stepped forward. Jiselle. The name surfaced naturally, as if it had always been waiting just beneath the surface. Felt right, light, freeing, alive. Jiselle who wore dresses without hiding. Jiselle who sat in cafes and ordered lattes. Jiselle who could be seen, and feel worthy of being seen. The walk home passed in a haze, thoughts racing faster than footsteps. When the apartment door closed behind, the silence no longer felt like confinement. It felt like possibility. The mirror told a different story now. Not disguise. Not pretense. But discovery, slow, real, unfolding. Sleep never came that night. Instead, the hours filled with searching. Information after information. Hormone therapy, voice training, legal processes, communities. Things that once felt distant now seemed reachable, almost tangible. A path. Morning brought clarity. The navy dress no longer hid away in a locked drawer. It hung openly in the closet, visible, claimed. A quiet symbol of change. A reminder. At exactly 9 a.m. the phone rang. Thompson Medical Center. How may I help you? Pause. I'd like to book an appointment with Dr. Martinez. I've heard she works with transgender patients. The word felt unfamiliar and yet completely right. Of course, the receptionist replied smoothly. She has an opening next Thursday at 2 p.m. May I have your name? Another pause. A choice. Jiselle. Jiselle Thompson. Thank you, Miss Thompson. We'll see you Thursday. Miss Thompson. The word sent a quiet thrill through the body. Recognition. Validation. The days that followed moved strangely, too slow and too fast at once. Work continued as usual. Louise still existed there, still played her part, though it felt heavier with each passing hour. But evenings were different. Evenings belonged to Jiselle. The cafe became familiar territory. A place of quiet belonging. Always dressed as herself, always genuine. The barista learned her name, her order. Other regulars began to nod in passing. And the elderly man appeared again, once then twice more. His name was Robert. He spoke kindly, always with warmth. He came, he said, to escape the silence of a home that still carried echoes of his wife, Martha. In his presence there was no judgment. Only simple human connection. And somehow that made all the difference. She would have liked you, he said one evening without any clear reason. She always believed people should live honestly. Live honestly. The words settled deep inside, like a quiet guide pointing the way forward. When Thursday finally came, it carried both nervousness and hope. The waiting room at the clinic held others walking similar paths. Some just beginning, others far ahead. A teenager sat with encouraging parents. Nearby, a woman in her 50s seemed to be embracing her truth after years of waiting. No one needed long conversations. Understanding passed in small glances. Jiselle Thompson? The name felt real now. Dr. Martinez greeted her with a warm smile, her calm presence instantly reassuring. The office was peaceful, painted in soft shades that made it easier to breathe. The appointment stretched on. Questions about health, discussions of expectations, timelines carefully explained, tests arranged. This is a significant decision, the doctor said kindly. Are you certain? Jiselle didn't hesitate. I've never been more certain. When she finally held the prescription, it felt powerful, like holding the beginning of a new life. Just small pills, yet full of possibility. The first dose was taken with steady resolve. The doctor had said changes would take time, months before anything visible, but something had already shifted. The choice itself was transformation. Work, however, remained complicated. Louise still existed during office hours, a role played out of necessity. Yet something was different. There was a lightness now, a quiet confidence. People noticed even if they couldn't name it. The office wasn't ready for Jiselle just yet, but she was patient. Outside of work, life began to expand. The cafe remained a safe haven, but it was no longer the only place. Evenings grew fuller. A poetry reading at a bookstore attended in a soft green dress. A museum visit in tailored black trousers and a deep burgundy blouse. Each step outward built courage. Meanwhile, her own auburn hair slowly grew longer. The wig, once essential, became less necessary with time. Soon, her natural hair brushed her collar, then fell beyond it. Styling tools appeared at home: curlers, brushes, products with unfamiliar names, each one part of claiming herself. 3 months and Robert noticed. "You're glowing," he said gently. "Whatever you're doing, it suits you." The physical changes were still subtle. Softer skin, slower hair growth, but something deeper shone through. Being genuine had its own kind of beauty. "I'm becoming myself," Jiselle told him. He placed a kind hand over hers. "That's the best thing anyone can do." At 6 months, things became official. The legal name change went through. Documents were updated. Identity recognized. Telling her workplace was frightening, but the outcome was better than feared. Policies supported her transition. Respect was expected. And then came Monday. A new nameplate sat on the desk: Jiselle Thompson. Some coworkers stumbled, correcting themselves quickly. Others adapted with quiet ease, offering smiles of support. Slowly things shifted. The navy dress made its first appearance at work. "You look lovely," Janet from Receivables said sincerely. Even small milestones felt significant. The women's restroom, once a source of anxiety, became just another ordinary space. Life settled into normal rhythms. Belonging wasn't something granted, it was something lived. Voice training came next. Progress was uneven but steady. Her coach, Elena, encouraged patience. "Don't force it," she would say. "Let it resonate naturally." Over time, the voice that emerged felt real. Not exaggerated, not artificial. Just hers. A year passed. The changes were no longer subtle. Softer lines replaced sharper ones. Her hair, now long and auburn, fell naturally past her shoulders. The mirror reflected alignment, inside and out finally matching. Medical updates were positive. Everything was progressing well. More changes would come with time, but the foundation was there. Jiselle wasn't just becoming anymore. She was. Eventually, dating entered her life. Carefully at first. Her online profile was honest about who she was. Matches were fewer but more genuine. Coffee dates followed, often at the same cafe where everything had started. Some connections faded quickly. Others held potential. Then came Marcus. A graphic designer with an easy smile and a calm presence. Their first meeting stretched into hours without either noticing. He knew her story from the beginning. Honesty mattered. His response was simple. "You're a woman. I'm attracted to women. The rest doesn't change that." And with that, something new began, slowly, thoughtfully, built on trust and understanding. He didn't hesitate to include her in his world. At work gatherings, their hands would find each other naturally, fingers lacing together with quiet certainty. Introductions were effortless. "This is my girlfriend, Jiselle." No explanations. No added context. Just truth spoken simply. The navy dress stayed carefully tucked away, brought out only for moments that mattered. Marcus understood what it meant. More than just fabric, it carried history, courage, and the beginning of everything. On their 6-month anniversary, he took her to a riverside restaurant. Candlelight flickered between them. She wore the dress. He matched her with a navy tie. "You're beautiful," he said softly, his voice steady with sincerity. Beautiful. Once that word had felt unreachable. Now it fit naturally, like something that had always belonged to her. Not conditional. Not qualified. It's true. 2 years into her transition, life had found its rhythm. Work was stable, respectful. Her relationship with Marcus was steady and warm. Friendships evolved. Some faded away, unable to adapt, while others grew stronger through honesty. The coffee shop remained a familiar anchor, though Robert's visits became less frequent. Eventually she learned he had moved into assisted living. Walking had become difficult. He went to see him. His room was small but filled with life. Photographs of Martha everywhere, each one telling a story. When he saw her, his face lit up instantly. "My dear girl, you look wonderful." They talked for hours. Her present, his past, woven together in quiet companionship. As she stood to leave, he gently reached for her hand. "I have something for you." From a drawer he brought out a small velvet box. Inside was a delicate gold necklace, holding a sapphire pendant the exact shade of deep navy. "This was Martha's," he said softly. "She would want someone who understands its meaning to have it." This time the tears weren't held back. The necklace rested against her skin like something sacred, like acceptance, like belonging. Life moved forward. One ordinary Tuesday Marcus proposed. No elaborate setup, no grand display. Just sincerity. The ring was simple. Her answer came even easier. Wedding plans followed, crafted in their own way. Jiselle chose to wear white not out of tradition but because it felt right. The ceremony was intimate, surrounded by people who truly supported them. Robert attended, seated in his wheelchair, smiling with quiet pride. In the bridal suite, the navy dress hung nearby, silent witness to everything that had led to this moment. Their vows were spoken clearly with voices that finally matched their truth. Names were right. Pronouns were right. Love was undeniable. It wasn't about proving anything. It was simply about beginning a life together. Their honeymoon brought sunlight, travel, and new experiences. For the first time, Jiselle moved through the world entirely as herself. Passport updated, identity unquestioned. There were no explanations needed. Shopkeepers greeted her warmly. Strangers saw her exactly as she was. Freedom felt effortless. Back home, life settled into something beautifully ordinary. Work promotions came through dedication. Evenings were filled with dinners, laughter, shared routines. Doctor visits became just that, routine care, not something extraordinary. Over time, what once felt monumental became simply life. 5 years after that first night at the cafe, Jiselle sat in the same corner again. The place had changed, new staff, updated decor, but the feeling remained. The navy dress was no longer worn. It had been carefully preserved, a keepsake of a turning point. In its place, a full wardrobe had grown, clothes chosen freely, built over years of living. Her reflection in the window told a quiet story. Long auburn hair. Soft features shaped by time and care. A wedding ring catching the light. Eyes no longer filled with conflict but with calm. A medium latte? The new barista smiled brightly, young and full of energy. Jiselle returned the smile. "Yes, please." Simple. Easy. And completely, finally, her own. "That's perfect, thank you." The girl lingered for a moment, then leaned in slightly, her voice lowered like she was sharing a secret. "I hope this doesn't sound strange, but you're kind of my hero." Jiselle blinked, caught off guard. "I'm just starting my own journey," the girl continued, a little nervous, a little hopeful. "And seeing you here, just living your life like this, it gives me hope." For a second, time seemed to fold in on itself. Jiselle reached out gently, resting her hand over the girl's. "What's your name?" The girl smiled shyly. "I'm still figuring that out. Maybe Emma, or Clara. I don't know yet." "That's okay," Jiselle said softly. "Take your time. Choose what feels true to you. And remember, the right people will see you for who you really are." The girl's eyes shimmered slightly. She squeezed Giselle's hand before stepping back, returning to work with a quiet sense of courage. Jiselle sat back, lifting her cup, Robert's words echoing once again. Kindness costs nothing. It had started with something so small, a simple compliment about a navy dress. And yet it had changed everything. Now she could pass that same kindness forward. One moment at a time. The door chimed softly as Marcus walked in, the evening light fading behind him. He leaned down, pressing a gentle kiss to her cheek before sitting beside her. "They're starting soon," he said with a smile. "Ready?" "Almost," she replied. "Just finishing my coffee." Their fingers intertwined effortlessly, as natural as breathing. They had tickets to a play downtown. She already knew what she'd wear, the green silk dress he loved. And he'd probably grumble about wearing a tie, though he'd do it anyway. Simple things. Everyday things. The kind of life that once felt out of reach. Outside, the city moved on. People rushing past, each carrying their own stories, their own struggles, their own quiet truths. Inside the cafe, everything felt calm. At home, the navy dress still hung in the closet, carefully preserved. Sometimes she would brush her fingers against it in passing, remembering the trembling person who had once worn it for the first time. That version of her wasn't gone. She had simply grown. Like something waiting patiently to emerge, changing slowly until it could finally become what it was always meant to be. Louise had been a layer of protection. Necessary once, but never permanent. Jiselle was the truth that came after. And somewhere along the way, a kind stranger had seen her before she fully saw herself. That had made all the difference. "I love you," Marcus said quietly without any reason at all. "I love you too." Love came easier now because she had learned to accept herself first. That lesson hadn't come overnight. It had taken time, effort, courage, and countless small victories. But it was real. He was real. They stepped out together, hand in hand, just another couple in a city full of them. Her heels tapped confidently against the pavement now. The green dress moved naturally with each step. Her auburn hair caught the glow of passing lights. There was no hesitation anymore. Only forward. Life stretched out ahead, filled with moments yet to be lived, memories yet to be made. The path from Louise to Jiselle had reached its end. But Giselle's story? That was only just beginning. Each day offered something new, the chance to live honestly, to exist fully, to see and be seen. And sometimes all it took to change a life was a little kindness.